All right, that Billy Napier was just.
He said, "Which door you want me to walk out of?"
Just bit the dust. That's right. Yeah. I got to play his press conference from after their win over Mississippi, because that was a guy that knew he was not going to be the coach on Monday. Absolutely. Mike Irwin is not the coach of the Florida Gators. He is, however, with Pig Trail Nation, and he joins us here on a Monday morning on Halftime. Good morning, Mike. Craziness in college football. It's a crazy sport, and then how many weeks in a row with the coach losing his job now? I think it's 6.
It's not going to – I'm telling you, with NIL and all this stuff and more money and pressure to win, this is just going to continue. And it's really interesting how it affects other job openings. I mean, now you've got people saying, well, gee, Arkansas, they might ought to go ahead and hire Petrino, or somebody might grab him, and so each time you have one of these openings, it kind of changes the dynamics a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know who they end up with. Can they get Lane Kiffin? That's what they think. I don't know if they can. I'd just soon have him over there. But the way they've structured things now, you every 4 years you're going to play. It cycles, every 2 years you play a certain teams for 2 years, then you cycle over. So you'd have to play Kiffin anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, well, are you around? So I don't know how you view this, because you're a journalist, Mike. You do digging. You've got contacts, you got sources, and you're out there trying to find information. We all have our opinions about how this, if there really even will be a coaching search. That's we don't have a search right now. There's an interim coach who wants the job, and he's coaching the team. To me, that's any of these other jobs, any of these other interim coaches, I don't even think they're real candidates for the position. I don't know if this Tim Skipper at UCLA, but it seems to everybody that Jerry Neuheisel is like the real head coach there because he gets all the pub for it. But that's the difference here. So I mean, I'm coming around to the place where I think Petrino's going to be the coach now. I wonder where you sit on this, or if you allow yourself the opinion as a journalist.
Well, I'm still not certain. I mean, this has been a pretty good search from the standpoint of the board or whoever's involved, Yurchek, all of them kind of keeping it quiet. I've tried to get what I feel like are good, solid sources on what's going on. And I've got plenty of people that say they know, and they're kind of secondary sources. But I don't have somebody really good that would tell me, yeah, Petrino's it, or he's not it. I mean, you got all kinds of things out there. You got people saying, well, they're going to wait till, this is what I'm hearing, that whatever they do, they're still going to want to do a sit-down with him at the end of the year, because all of the people that have to make the decisions want him to answer certain questions. And primarily, what are you going to do about the defense? Do you have in mind the defensive coordinator? What would it cost to get him? How much more money do we need to get better defensive players? Because I think most people, and whoever's hiring can see this, offensively, this guy is as good as anybody out there. I mean, we're seeing now that when plays don't work, it's because players screw up. His plan is good. The fourth down play that everybody talked about, against Texas A&M, when you go back and look at that, it's obvious that the tight end was wide open 2 steps down the field and probably would have scored if Taylon Green had seen him. So the plan is there. The guy knows how to call plays, so he can do the offense. Can he do all the rest of this stuff? And I think they want to sit down and be assured. But then, just like we talked about with Rhett Lashley, if you look, the story is Rhett Lashley has said this is not the right time for him. But who knows if he's solid on that. I started looking at his conference record because people talk a lot about conference records. Some guy was trying to say Mullen didn't have a really good conference record, so why would they consider him when he said he was a 500 coach at 2 schools, Mississippi State and Florida? Well, he was just barely above 500, but then James Franklin at Vanderbilt was under 500. So you start looking, and Petrino was at about 52 or 53% in the SEC here. So then you ask yourself, okay, conference record a big deal? You know who has an unbelievable conference record is Rhett Lashley. It's 80%, but he's undefeated in conference plays since SMU moved to the ACC. I mean, he's had 2 years there. 1 year when they were in the ACC where they were 8-0, then 8-0 last year, 3-0 this year. This guy knows how to win conference games, but it's not the SEC. But is that what you're looking for? If you are, you couldn't find a better guy with a more impressive record than Rhett Lashley. So I don't know. And then you have Mullen coming out and saying this stuff last week. He was asked about, and I think it came from a podcast I did, which the podcast was all about the coaching search. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to talk for 45 minutes about a coaching search and not mention everything you've heard? Of course. I never said on there that I absolutely knew 100% that Mullen wanted the job, but that's what I was told by more than one source. Okay, so he gets asked about that. He'd already been asked about it before, and he was clearly annoyed, and he said, I have 0.0 interest in Arkansas. They need to go hire Malzahn. Well, that's a shot at Arkansas. So some people are saying he knew when he did that he wasn't going to be a candidate for this job. So maybe he never was interested. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe he just doesn't understand that you don't bring up Gus's name in a situation like that, especially with what's going on at Florida State right now. But again, guys, who knows? I mean, you have to talk about it, but that doesn't mean we've got some. I saw the craziest thing I've ever seen on the internet last night. Look at my phone. Some Penn State fan was coming out of a building, and he goes, guys, I just came out of the AD's office. You're not going to believe, I've got the list of 5 candidates. It's going to be one of these guys. And wait till I tell you who they are. Dude, is that real? Come on. Nobody's going to go in and see the AD and then come out and start announcing on their phone and sending it to everybody who the 5 candidates are. So coaching searches are just nutty. And everybody thinks they have an answer. I'm telling you, as somebody that gets paid to try to follow it, a lot of times you're never for sure.
Well, we keep being close. What do you see in this Auburn Tiger team coming into Fayetteville? It's going to be an early kickoff. It's probably going to, you're not going to have to worry about the weather delay. Auburn had a late game this Saturday. Now they got to travel on the road. I think this first half, maybe even just as much the first quarter, might be the most important. I mean, everything, Mike, the fourth quarter is always the most important, but I do think this game's going to be who can jump out first. And I like Arkansas's offense.
Yeah, the offense was really good against A&M, but I don't think what a lot of people understood was how good A&M's offense is. I'll continue to tell you this, guys. I think A&M has a better offense than Tennessee. I was more impressed with them. They make plays. They made play after play after play on third down situations, and it wasn't Arkansas being bad. It was these guys jumping up and making a big catch, bumping all 3 or 4 tackles and just fighting, to get more yards. So, look, Auburn's got a good team. There aren't bad teams in the SEC, but they did lose, and they supposedly their starting center is out for this game. That could make a huge difference if it's true. We'll see. But and then Mullen, I mean, not Mullen.
Freeze.
Freeze. I get these coaches rolling around my head.
Hey, by this
Freeze
time next week, you don't know who's going to be the coach. Yeah, you're on to it.
Yeah, and Freeze could be coaching for his job. So does that fire their players up? I think it'll just be a barn burner down to the, and I was thinking if Arkansas ever played a game where they didn't have a turnover, that they were going to win that game. But they did, and they still lost, and it was close. But you didn't have the turnovers, but you had these. As great a game as Taylor Green had, he had 2 real issues. The one where he failed to spot that, and that was in the second quarter that could give him the lead, failed to spot his tight end, Roland Jones. And then the other was in the fourth quarter with about 6 minutes to go, and they start on the 25, and he just runs backward and gets sacked and takes that huge loss. And that really decided the game. So it wasn't a turnover, but it was a mistake that decided the game. So I think this is another game that's going to come down to, do you screw up at the wrong time and lose the game?
How
if
much?
Not, if it's.
How much do you think that with Petrino and talking about the coaching search, do you think he has to win a game, or do you think he's already done enough just by being in these close games? Does he have to win 1 or 2 games to get the head coaching job?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it'd be a pretty hard sell. But I do think this. If you're these last two games, everybody knows that Tennessee's a really good team, had a good offense. Everybody knows A&M's good. So you're right there with them. What they don't want is something like that Notre Dame game. So if you don't do anything dumb like that, I think it helps him. But I still think he's got to win a game or two.
I want to zero in on something you'd mentioned a couple of minutes ago about no bad teams in the SEC. What to you constitutes a good team, and do you think Arkansas is one?
Oh, I think Arkansas's got flaws. They're good offensively. They've got some issues on defense that seem to be worse at sometimes than others. Good is always a comparison. To me, you're comparing with other goods. So is Arkansas a good SEC team? Probably not. You take them out of the league and put them in the Big 12 or some other conference besides the Big 10, they're probably a good team. It's just how tough this league is. And I was listening on the radio this morning with Simon Kraft, and they were talking about this possibility of a super league where the SEC gets together with the Big Ten and they grab off 3 or 4 other teams, and Arkansas doesn't want to be in a position to get left out. I wish I'd been on that show, guys, because you know what I would have told them? I hope Arkansas does get left out. I'm sick of that stuff. You want to turn college football into pro football without the pro controls, where everybody just throws money, and whoever tries to win has the most money. Do you want to do that? I would rather see if they do create this super conference, there's going to be a lot of other college football teams out there that aren't in it. And I think what we will see is fans will coalesce around those teams because it's real college football, not this crazy thing that we're evolving into.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, H-O-G-S, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's where bettors win together, because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Must opt in during the bet to use the Bet Back bonus.